The second season of Adventure Time Fionna and Cake has finally come to an end, as we watch Huntress Wizard frantically struggle to save Finn's life. And goddamn, what an absolute banger and super emotional season it was. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to Finn Films. I am a absolutely massive Adventure Time fan. I firmly believe that Adventure Time is probably the best Western cartoon ever made, in my opinion. I've done a bunch of videos over Adventure Time on my channel, either breaking down some of my favorite and the most profound episodes from the original Adventure Time series, as well as a bunch of videos over season 2 of Fionna and Cake. So that is why today I give you Fionna and Cake season 2 in a nutshell. An absolute mega mashup of all 10 episodes from season 2, where we break down and explain everything from the story to all of the hidden Easter eggs in these episodes, to all of the references and homages to the original Adventure Time series. So then, come along with me for Fionna and Cake Season 2 in a nutshell. Fionna and Cake Season 2 Episode 1 opens with the little Fionna and Cake superfan Astrid recapping the events of Season 1 to Princess Bubblegum, Marcy, and Simon. As for a quick recap, in Season 1 we learned that Fionna and Cake's universe was created by Prismo the Wishmaster, who stored them within Ice King's mind. But after Ice King lost his powers, becoming Simon once again, Fionna and Cake's world lost its magic. Fionna and Cake then came to the world of Ooo. Accompanied by Simon, the three of them universe hopping to try to find a new magical crown, so that Simon could wear it, becoming the Ice King once again, and bringing magic back to their world. But throughout this journey, Fionna realized that she liked her world the way it was. Fionna returning home and saving her world from an evil bug creature who was hunting them down because they were an unauthorized universe. Simon as well had a major character arc, the man finally coming to terms with the loss of Betty and accepting his place in Ooo, now without his powers. Fionna and Cake's world gets made an official canon universe, and Fionna becomes her own person, instead of just a gender-swapped version of Finn. PB chiming in this recap asking where Finn is, Simon saying he was off to see Huntress Wizard, which we saw back in Season 1 Episode 2 of Fionna and Cake, as Finn and Huntress Wizard are now a couple. We then flash over to Fionna's world as the girl in her insanely messy room wakes up, flipping through the channels where we get some fun references to sitcom TV shows like Friends, as well as a reference to the Adventure Time snail. Fionna then calls out the window to the apartment next door, where we see Cake now has her own place. The two of them eating breakfast together and then heading out the door as Fionna has a list of things she needs to do for Gary and his grand opening of his sweet store. We see Fionna's world is still in repair after the insane battle at the Season 1 finale. However, Fionna and Cake have become quite the local celebrities after saving the world, as we watch Fionna and Cake go on their errands, where they are confronted by Queenie, Fionna's former boss, who is, well, a bit of a bitch. They then go to a candy store to pick up some cocoa powder for Gary, Cake transforming into a more humanoid form, complete with Booba. As we see, this is the candy store of Incrom, the gender-flipped version of Lady Rainicorn. This making sense because, again, these are the gender-swap versions of Jake and Lady Rainicorn, who date and have a relationship in Adventure Time, so of course the gender-swap versions of them are going to have a thing for each other. Basically, if there's a romance or relationship in Adventure Time, expect the gender-flipped versions in Fionna and Cake to also have the same romance. Imcrom then gives Cake his number as Simon calls Fionna from Ooo. Simon checking in on Fionna, giving us a classic, "Hey girl."
Hey girl.
Fionna cringing as she sees a poster for her ex-boyfriend, DJ Flame. Again, Finn and Flame Princess dated and broke up in Adventure Time, so it only makes sense that DJ Flame and Fionna would date and break up in Fionna and Cake. We learn that Simon is now living with Marcy, though he feels awkward about being around PB, because, he used to kidnap her all the time as Ice King. We also learn that Simon is planning to teach a class at Wizards, the Wizard University. As well, we have a little fun BMO reference here in this scene with this vending machine labeled Gmo. Fionna tells Simon the Sweet Spot's grand opening is tomorrow, as Simon wishes her luck, as we watch him pull out an orange, placing it on Choose Goose's grave, saying there's nothing that rhymes with orange. Choose Goose's grave having this hilarious rhyming scheme in classic Choose Goose fashion. As if we remember in Season 1, Simon used Choose Goose as kind of an arcane battery to try and contact Gold Betty, thus killing the goose. We then watch a lion come and steal the orange, as it is then hunted by Huntress Wizard through the forest, the lion seemingly being the same lion that was once the Vampire King. We then see Finn passed out in a cave, as he is then surrounded by 3 different Huntress Wizards. One wearing a cowbell, the other with strange bird eyes, and the third carrying the orange who squeezes the juice in his mouth. The real Huntress Wizard then arrives as we see that these other 3 are actually animals, a cow, an eagle, and the lion. As we realize that Finn is very badly hurt and poisoned, and is in a bit of a fever dream, his back having these gnarly scratch marks, which we saw him get in Season 1 when he fought the bear with Simon and then was flung into that strange bush in the heart of the forest. Back in Fiona's world, she and Cake arrive at the Sweet Spot, a little section on the street corner that will be the home of Gary's new sweet shop, a spot where Marshall Lee and LSP are living as well. As we see, the funny squirrel from Ooh has made its home with LSP, as the group together begin decorating this area for the grand opening for the Sweet Spot tomorrow. They are then interrupted by Hunter, the gender-swapped Huntress Wizard, who gives Fiona a rose bush. Fiona cutting her hand on the thorns as he helps clean the wound, the two sharing this wholesome little moment together. Back in Ooh, we see Huntress Wizard has tried everything to help remove the poison from Finn, but nothing is working, as she manages to get a few words out of him, specifically Bear and Simon. We then flash over to a strange high tower, as we see Fiona in a barbarian outfit, Cake transform into a strange creature, as the two battle wave after wave of oncoming warriors. This likely being a reference to the show that Fiona was watching earlier that morning. They cut down all the approaching warriors when they realized to their horror that these warriors are all of their friends. Gary, Marshall, LSP, Imkron, Hunter, and even Finn's dad, Martin. As we then see a completely feather-picked Chooskook sliding on the ground. Fiona and Cake being abruptly woken up when we see that this was all just a dream with some likely foreshadowing for the upcoming season. We see the gang all fell asleep at the Sweet Spot as they are greeted by Queenie and her thugs. Queenie revealing that she actually owns this property, as she kicks them all out. Back in Ooh, we are transported to Wizards for Simon's first day of teaching. We see Kadebra and Peppermint Butler in this class, the two kids now older since we last saw them in their Distant Lands episode. Kadebra being a lot taller now, and it seems Peppermint Butler is in a bit of his goth arc. Simon is teaching the history of magic artifacts, as on the table we see a set of dice for Dungeons & Dragons, the Enchiridion, as well as a dodecahedron. Shout out to all my fellow Joe Scott enjoyers. They are then interrupted by Huntress Wizard, who bursts in eagle form carrying Finn. Huntress demanding Simon tell her what has happened with Finn. Simon giving us a recap on him and Finn's little adventure in Season 1, when again Finn was attacked by the bear and then scratched up by the weird bush in the heart of the forest. Huntress telling Simon to keep Finn alive and then to forget everything he has heard about the heart of the forest as she leaves. Back over in Fiona's world, Queenie has kicked all of the gang out of the Sweet Spot, claiming all of their stuff is now hers as she is owed back rent, as Fiona vows to her friends to fix this and set it right. Back in Ooh, Huntress Wizard has journeyed to the heart of the forest, discovering the bush where Finn got messed up, as we see the green bear lurking behind her, as Season 2, Episode 1 of Fiona and Cake comes to an end. Season 2, Episode 2 of Fiona and Cake opens with a flashback, specifically to how Huntress Wizard got her powers, as we see her as a younger woman training with the Spirit Dream Warrior, this being the first rites for one to gain green wizard powers in the land of Ooh. We watch Huntress Wizard repeatedly trying to break a stone in half with a branch, as we see her training for many years, eating pine cones and developing her skills, until finally, the boulder breaks in two. Inside the boulder is a tooth, the Spirit Dream Warrior telling her if she still seeks power, the tooth must bite. As we watch her immediately, without any hesitation at all, like an absolute psycho, cut her own hand off. The Spirit Dream Warrior taking her to the heart of the forest, where we see the same bramble bush that has poisoned Finn in the present, as we then see Witch Wizard, another one of the green wizards, pop out, as it is her job to guard the heart of the forest. We also see that she has the same mask that the bear that fought Finn and Simon had in Episode 1, it being revealed here that Witch Wizard was the green bear fighting them. Huntress Wizard then walks forward, as she places her severed hand on the bramble bush, the bush wrapping its vines around the hand and setting it afire with green flame. As Huntress Wizard's eyes change to the green color, her hand regrowing and her classic mask appearing on her face, as she is now a full-blown green wizard. The other green wizards appear, doing their hilarious wizard chant.
One with heart, keep its mysteries on lock. Green wizards only.
We flash over to Fiona's world, where we see her, Cake, Gary, and Marshall all dressed up in burglar outfits. As we watch the group go and break back into the Sweet Spot, Gary wanting to try and get some of his baking stuff back after the Sweet Spot was reclaimed by Queenie in Episode 1, where it was revealed that Queenie actually owned this land the entire time. Also, Fiona is wearing this little robber mask, which kind of looks like Huntress's wizard mask, and it's honestly pretty freaking cute. As we watch them gather Gary's stuff, suddenly it comes crashing down, making a loud sound, waking up one of Queenie's guards who was sleeping in Marshall's van. Cake trying to punch this guy in the face when, to the gang's shock, the man catches it, revealing himself to be the fire deity that they set free in season 1 of Fionna and Cake, who is now working for Queenie because he needs the money. The gang frantically running away. Back in Ooh, Huntress Wizard has made her way to the heart of the forest, where we saw her at the end of episode 1, to the bramble where Finn was poisoned, when she is confronted by the Green Bear, who we now know from the flashback is Witch Wizard, the witch transforming back into her normal form at seeing it's just Huntress Wizard. Witch can tell that Huntress is up to something here as she sees the pipe in her hand, as well Huntress is acting pretty sus. Huntress telling her she just needs to take a little of the sap from the bramble because her friend needs it. Witch realizing her friend here is Finn. We also know that Finn is more than just a friend to Huntress Wizard. Witch being angry at Huntress for telling Finn about the heart of the forest. Witch telling Huntress that Finn deserves to die as the two face off in a surprisingly really epic and cool fight scene. I freaking love that Huntress Wizard is one of the kind of main focused characters of this season because she's so freaking cool. And I really wish we got to see more of her in the original Adventure Time series. So it's really cool getting to see her, kind of be in that main spotlight for this season of Fionna and Cake. This fight scene as well was super cool and very kind of anime-esque at times, which is pretty kind of rare and cool and unique for Adventure Time, as we watch Witch Wizard ultimately transform into a giant crocodile as she bites down on Huntress, who transforms into a log ninja style, Witch breaking her teeth on the log, which funnily enough is the name of this episode, The Crocodile Who Bit a Log. Huntress then shooting an arrow at her that transforms into a net, binding her. Witch yelling at her, pleading with her not to take the sap, as a horrible thing will happen, though she doesn't know exactly what that horrible thing is. Huntress taps the bramble, getting a vial of the sap, but the sap continues to flow out of it. Huntress panicking as she pulls the pipe out, the green goo gushing everywhere. The ground begins to shake, trees erupting, as it is revealed that this bramble bush is actually just sitting on top of the head of a strange wooden deer-like creature, an almost eldritch and horror nightmare-like creature that is bound to the ground, the creature writhing in pain. As we watch as Huntress and Witch Wizard lose their masks, also losing their magical green wizard powers, the other green wizards then showing up, as the strange monster begins collapsing in on itself, creating this weird magical portal. The other wizards also losing their powers. As they all hold Huntress Wizard responsible, they begin pulling out knives, attacking her, throwing these daggers at her. Huntress slipping on the green goo as one of the daggers with a freaking bomb attached to it hits her in the shoulder, knocking her into the portal, which leads to some strange, weird, spiritual forest world. The dagger blowing up as we see Huntress's body is blown to pieces, her head floating away. Like, what the fuck, Adventure Time? Back in Fiona's world, we see the gang drinking at a bar, upset that their little robbery had gone wrong. We also see LSP playing an arcade game in the background as he says piece of junk as he loses at his game. Now, this could just be a random throwaway line, but it felt to me like a reference, possibly to Star Wars.
What a piece of junk!
Though honestly, I could just be reaching here, it could just be a throwaway line, but it did feel like it was supposed to be some kind of a reference. As the group drink, wallowing in self-pity, Cake wants to go back and fight the fire deity, asking the bartender Ruby for oven mitts and tinfoil, a funny reference to Finn wrapping himself in tinfoil to kiss Flame Princess in Adventure Time. Fionna, though, is determined, saying that they just have to come back crazier than ever next time. Over at Wizards, we see Finn is not doing so well, as Simon is talking to PB on the phone, as he frantically tries to learn more information on the heart of the forest. PB sending some banana guards in an ambulance to help. I guess if you'd really call that help. Fionna and the gang then return to the speed spot with Pep Tank and Baby Finn, as we see Cake is wrapped up in foil, again a reference to Finn wrapped up in foil. However, before they use the tank, Gary notices a for sale sign, as the group then decide, together they are going to save up enough money so they can buy the land and then open the sweet spot. We flash over to Huntress Wizard, who is in a kind of dreamlike state, laying on the forest ground with Finn. Finn telling her that he's thinking about dying soon. Huntress saying if he dies, then he will forget all about her. Finn telling her never, as then we flash back to reality to Huntress Wizard's severed head and blown apart body floating in this weird forest-like spirit world. Now, I don't know if this is exactly a reference, but in one of the craziest episodes in Adventure Time, Ploy, the one where Finn has a pillow family and dies, his pillow wife asks him not to forget her, which ultimately he does when he dies and then returns back to his normal body and his normal world. I don't know if Finn saying he will never forget Huntress is a reference to that or not. It's also just kind of ironic. Huntress's body then gets blown through the spirit world, as roots then reach out, touching her different body parts, transforming them into tiny little seeds. Huntress's spirit being separated from her body, as we watch the seeds get thrown into different portals, each of these portals leading to a different universe. For example, the vampire universe, the baby universe, as we see a baby cinnamon bun eat the seed, a space universe, what is possibly the farm universe, an underwater universe, and Fiona's universe. Meanwhile, Fionna is taking care of baby Finn, as she is on the phone with Simon, asking for tips about buying property, while Simon does his best to try to care for Finn. Huntress, meanwhile, is dealing with the chaos of the spirit world as an ethereal voice then emerges, asking her if she is alright. As well, she is getting plagued by random sounds that are coming from each of the dimensions that her body is in. Huntress crying out that she needs to get back to Ooh, she needs to save Finn. The voice telling her, if you want to leave, little homie, you just need to pick which direction you want to grow. As she focuses in, hearing Fiona's voice talking to Simon. Huntress being transported to the seed, which is in Fiona's room, as we see her kind of transform, embodying this seed in a tiny little body. Huntress struggling, managing to grow a root, jumping down into Fiona's half-dead plant as she buries herself in the dirt. Meanwhile, back in Ooh, Finn, whose condition is worsening, is being transported to the Candy Kingdom, as Season 2, Episode 2 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Season 2, Episode 3 of Fionna and Cake opens with our heroes doing battle with Ice Queen, Fionna trying to save Flame Prince in the gender-swapped world of Ooh, instead of Fiona's normal, non-magical world. As we see, the Ice Queen has Flame Prince trapped within an ice block, the steam created by his flames being used to power an ice golem. Ice Queen freezing Cake, Fionna then using the frozen cake as a weapon, which is kind of fucked up, no lie. Fionna then whipping out her sword as she does battle with the ice golem, cutting it in half, freeing Flame Prince, whose flames have been completely extinguished. Fionna leaning down over him and kissing him, restoring the prince's flame. This scene being a kind of mirror parallel scene of one in Adventure Time, specifically when Finn had to kiss Flame Princess to restore her flames. We will actually see this scene of Adventure Time be referenced again, as well as just the theme of kissing coming up a lot in this episode. Fionna and Flame Prince then run for their lives. Fionna screaming as we are then transported to a flashback of Fionna in her non-magical world, as we see her wearing a bathing suit, frantically running down the street with a sandwich in her hand, as it seems like she's late for work. We see a non-magical cake pop out of a trash can, seeing Fiona's sandwich. This likely being a flashback to before Fionna actually had Cake. Fionna running and knocking over DJ Flame, who then looks at Fionna running away, thinking how hot she is, as we watch Fionna run in this very Baywatch-like scene. Oh, as well, we got a couple of other little kind of fun Easter eggs in this scene here, like this graffiti here, which looks a lot like Gold Betty's eyes. As well, we see the Super Porp vending machine, a reference to the Super Porp episode of Adventure Time. We then flash over to where we left off in episode 2, as we see Huntress Wizard, who is now a little seedling in Fiona's room, as she is desperate for water so she can grow. But we see that the water is too far away, and Fionna, being the dork that she is, has completely forgotten to water her plants. Meanwhile, Fionna, LSP, Marshall, and Gary have gathered all their money on Fiona's bed, trying to figure out a way to buy the sweet spot from Queenie. However, Queenie wants 50 grand, and she wants it by the end of the week. LSP breaking open his piggy bank named Lumpy, a reference to Lumpy Princess, LSP, as inside we see some money in bottle caps. The bottle caps, if I had to guess, likely being a reference to Fallout, as bottle caps are the money in that video game series. Fionna then comes up with an idea to do a fundraiser as the group begins to plan. Gary asks Marshall to play music at the fundraiser, to which he reluctantly agrees. Fionna then goes and looks for a potential venue they could host the fundraiser at. Meanwhile, we see baby Finn fall over to Huntress Wizard, who is desperately trying to get water, as it looks as though baby Finn is about to eat her, when at the last minute Fionna picks him up. We then move over to Prismo's time room, where we see that he and the Cosmic Owl have been watching these events unfold, taking bets on if baby Finn was gonna eat Huntress Wizard. Scrabby asking Prismo why he's letting this crossover slide. Prismo saying it's not his jurisdiction, as we see the multiverse of the Adventure Time world. Prismo then showing them a strange root-like connection system that seems to link all of these universes together. This being how Huntress was able to travel to Fiona's world when her body was split apart and sent to the different universes that we saw last episode. The Cosmic Owl then has to leave as he has to go to work, doing what he calls a croak dream, basically a dream that he will appear in that will signify the death of a character. Over in Ooh in the Candy Kingdom, we see Bubblegum running tests on Finn, with Marceline and Simon watching on worried. Oh, as well, Marceline's hair here is kind of styled similarly to how she was as a little girl, which I think is pretty cute. PB's test determining that whatever has infected Finn is killing him, but it is also keeping him alive at the same time, as she needs to conduct more tests. Marceline telling Finn that she's gonna kill him if he dies on her. Outside the palace, we see a horde of princesses have arrived, all worried about Finn, as they are convinced the only thing that can save Finn is a kiss from a princess, as PB orders the banana guards to keep them out and block the gates. Back in Fiona's world, we see she has gone to the park meeting up with Hunter, Fionna wanting to use the park as the venue for her fundraiser. Hunter saying that he can set her up with a meeting with the park committee who can authorize it, as he cuts down a tree branch, Fiona's goofy ass not listening to his warnings as it falls on her. The girl embarrassed, then running away when she bumps into a shirtless DJ Flame, who we learn is named Felix. This being the gender swap version of Flame Princess and Fiona's ex-boyfriend who is out for a run. Fionna, we can see, still has feelings for Felix, as he then invites her to come to a club later that night where he is playing. Fionna agreeing, as she thinks that Felix is giving her signals that maybe they could get back together, and so we watch him run off. Fionna watching him lovingly. This whole scene here being a kind of a mirror of the flashback scene we saw earlier in the episode, when Fionna ran into Felix and then he stared off at her as she ran away, this time the situation being flipped. Back in U, the princesses managed to bust into the castle, PB agreeing to let them try and kiss Finn after being prompted by Marceline and Simon. Marceline and PB having this hilarious and wild little back and forth interaction.
A kiss can't bring somebody back from the brink of death.
That's not what you told me last night.
I did say that.
You have a poison in your mind, and the fact that you can't see it makes me so sad.
Back in Fiona's world, Cake is trying to draw something up for the fundraiser, as she looks out of the window seeing a couple holding a little purple unicorn stuffed animal, as she reflexively draws Imkron on the page. Cake then decides to text Incrom asking him to hang out later that night, as she then panics, asking a gender swap cinnamon bun what people do on dates, as she then tells her they go out dancing. Fionna then barges in telling Cake that they're going clubbing. We flash over later that night to the Belly nightclub, as we see Imkrom is there with Fionna and Cake, who have both gotten very dressed up for that night. There's just something about seeing Cake in clothes like this that is just so funny to me, but I have to say they both look like little cuties. Cake wants to know why Fionna is all dressed up, but she changes the subject, not wanting to tell her that she is actually there to see her ex-boyfriend Felix, aka DJ Flame, as they go inside and the party is popping. We see a ton of gender swapped characters here, like Rat Bear, as well as Abracadaniel over here, and I believe the DJ is supposed to be Slime Princess, who is wearing a Groff sweatshirt, Groff being Betty's last name. DJ Slime announces the headliner as we watch DJ Flame enter the stage. Cake being completely shocked while Fionna is starstruck. Cake then dragging Fionna to the bathroom where we see the gender-swapped Rat Bear as well as a fun little reference to Gunther the Penguin. Cake getting upset with Fionna because Felix broke up with her over text message. Fionna saying they only broke up because Felix was catching feelings and he got afraid, as we learned they dated for around 6 months. Fionna thinking that her and Felix's souls are connected. Imkrom then texting Cake telling her that it's too loud in the club and he's gonna bounce, as Cake is upset. Fionna then heads back to the club as Felix looks out saying his girl is there, telling her, "Come on up, baby." Fionna thinking that Felix is talking to him as she begins to walk forward when we see another girl all dressed in green who looks a lot like Fionna get up on the stage as she begins making out with Felix. Fionna watching on completely heartbroken as she begins downing drinks left and right. We later learn that this girl's name here is Fennel, and she is the gender swap version of Fern. Fern being another version of Finn that is combined with the grass sword. A pretty wild and funny twist here, and since we know many things are mirrored between Fiona's world and the world of Ew, it does make me wonder if Flame Princess is now dating Fern, which would be quite the wild twist as well. In Fiona's room, we see Huntress as a seedling is still having trouble getting water, as she's beginning to die of thirst. As she meditates, her consciousness being transported to visit Spirit Warrior, who is dressed up as a bartender, this being a funny reference to the show Cheers. Huntress saying she needs to get home. Spirit Warrior saying she wants to go where everyone knows her name, a reference to the classic theme song of the show Cheers from the 1980s. Spirit Warrior giving her advice in his very classic cryptic style, as he shows her a beet, the vegetable, telling her she needs to follow the beet to the roots, then showing her a hoe, the digging tool, saying he uses this to get underground, as he then breaks it, flinging it into her drink, which sets it on fire, as he says a broken tool seeks the flame. Huntress not understanding a single damn thing that he is saying as she is transported back to her normal conscious self, as we see that she is about to croak from lack of water. Now, it's hard to know exactly what Spirit Warrior is talking about here, but if I had to guess, it has something to do with DJ Flame, aka Felix, seeing he referenced following a beat and flames. Fionna possibly being the broken tool. Again, though, this is just classic, super cryptic, and convoluted from Spirit Warrior, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what exactly he is talking about in the upcoming episodes. Back in Ooh, we see a number of princesses have tried kissing Finn, but none of it is working, as a mysterious figure then arrives. Key-eyed fans would probably know instantly who this character is, as revealed to be Flame Princess, Phoebe, aka Finn's ex-girlfriend. Flame Princess saying that even close to death, Finn is still as pretty as ever, as she says she really did love him. Flame Princess then leaning down, kissing Finn as a fiery explosion emits out of her. Again, this being a fun reference scene to that moment when Finn kissed Flame Princess, saving her life in Adventure Time. Gotta say, as a big Adventure Time fan and lover of the Finn and Flame Princess relationship, this scene was great. Even if it was some pretty shameless fan service, it was still absolutely cute as hell. Back in Fiona's world, we see she is drunk as hell at the city park, as she drunkenly texts Cake saying she's sorry, as she sees Hunter going to a little shack. Fionna following him, opening the door, stumbling upon him changing clothes. And goddamn, my dude is absolutely stacked. Fionna, again, is drunk as hell and super upset at what happened at the club. Fionna saying DJ Flame is with a new girl who is just a copycat version of her. Hunter saying this girl's name is Finnel and he has been friends with her for a long time, and she's actually kinda cool. Fionna then looking up at Hunter when we see his face flash for a moment, turning into a zombie-like version of Simon's. Now, this weird quick frame glitch thing happens a few times in this episode, mainly with Prismo, but it was nothing like this nightmare fuel here, as it seems like maybe the crossover of Huntress Wizard is affecting things in Fiona's world, and possibly Simon is in danger. Though again, though, this is just pure speculation. All I know is whatever is going on here with these little frame glitches, it's absolutely creepy as hell. The drunken Fionna then tries to kiss Hunter several times. Hunter, being the awesome guy of morals that he is, says he really likes Fionna, but she's very drunk, so he can't kiss her. Hunter offering to walk her home, as then she runs off upset. Back in Ooh, we see Phoebe's kiss didn't work to bring Finn back. Phoebe saying it was a long shot, besides she's seeing someone new anyway. And I swear to God, if it's Fern, bro, like imagine getting replaced by a grass version of yourself, like goddamn, that's cold. Muscle Princess then shakes Simon as the Enchiridion falls out of its pocket. PB picking it up, saying that there is something the princesses can do for Finn, as it seems like she needs the princess's jewels. As we know, if the jewels are put into the Enchiridion, it will open up a portal to the multiverses. Back in Ooh, we see Fionna returning home drunk and upset, as she tried to call Simon, but he didn't answer. Fionna saying she can't do anything right. She can't even keep her plant alive as she begins to cry. Her tears landing on the little seedling Huntress Wizard, who grows another leaf. We then move over into a weird kind of dream world, the dream of Big Destiny, the gang leader, who appears here in his dream as a shepherd looking over his flock, as he suddenly sees a wolf attacking his sheep as he then suplexes it. Big Destiny looking up as he sees the cosmic owl, as this is the croak dream that the owl had to visit. As the wolf mouths open in this horrifying scene, revealing his son Peanut, who then chomps his dad's head off. Destiny waking up, glad that it's only a dream, as he looks over, as again he sees his son Peanut sitting on top of a wolf, the son saying, "Good night, Daddy," as he then kills him, as Season 2, Episode 3 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Fionna and Cake Season 2 Episode 4 opens with a flashback to the origins of Huntress Wizard. We see an old huntsman and his wife, who lived in the woods, the two of them, more than anything, wanting a family. One day the huntsman goes into the woods, where he shoots a bunny, the man tracking it down, where he finds a strange little green creature, who we see has sucked the life out of the dead rabbit. The man offering the little creature food, which it greedily sucks the life out of. We come to learn that this is Huntress Wizard as a child, or at least in a kind of small sapling-like form, as we see the huntsman take her home, he and his wife then caring for her and raising her like their own child. As they continue to feed her, as we see she begins to grow larger, the huntsman even teaching her the art of hunting and showing her how to shoot a bow. Over time, Huntress begins to grow more humanoid, as she even begins eating food with her mouth now instead of absorbing the nutrients through her roots. However, this perfect little life the family had built would change one night, when their home was tragically struck by lightning, a raging fire burning, the Huntress managing to save little Huntress in time, the man then running back inside to save his wife, but it was too late, as we watch the building explode. Huntress burying her adopted mother and father outside of their house, as we see the young girl walk off into the forest. Now, while this is only a brief flashback, we actually learn a lot about Huntress, as we see it is through her adopted father that she first learned the skills of being a hunter. As well, we get a kind of look at how Huntress actually grows, as in the present we have seen that Huntress is a little seedling, which presumably she started life out as in as a child. But over time, she absorbed more and more nutrients, ate more and more food, and then she would grow up, be able to run around, and be more humanoid, eventually growing to adolescent size. As we know that not too long after this moment from this flashback, Huntress would find Dream Warrior in the woods, and would begin her training arc to ultimately become a green wizard. Back in Fionna World, we see Gary and Marshall at the store buying ingredients. Marshall running into Ice Queen and having this strange reaction at seeing her, which I imagine will be explored in future episodes. As we know, Marceline and Ice King, aka Simon, in and Adventure Time have a history with one another. So it does make me wonder if it's possible that Ice Queen and Marshall have some sort of history with one another in Fionna World. Meanwhile, we see Fionna is hungover at her apartment, getting a call from Hunter, who has scheduled her meeting with the park committee later in the afternoon. We see Huntress Wizard drinking some more water and growing larger. Fionna then takes a shower listening to the radio, deciding that she needs to talk to DJ Flame, aka Felix, and get his help with PR for the setting up of the fundraiser. Fionna doesn't have his number anymore though, but she knows all of his hangout spots, as she decides she's going to try to track him down. Not gonna lie, it was kind of weird and funny seeing Fionna basically naked here in the shower, but she do be a dorky little cutie. Meanwhile in Bubblegum uses the Enchiridion as her, Marcy, and Simon then go and visit Prismo, wanting to try to make a wish to save Finn. However, something is up with Prismo and his wish-granting powers. They don't seem to be working anymore, as he quickly then ushers them out of his time chamber. In Fionna World, Cake goes over to Fiona's apartment, but Fionna is already gone. Cake getting a call from the people who make the show Cheers, asking her to make an appearance on the show, the talent scout for the show being a gender-swapped grid-faced princess. We then see a snail take notice of Huntress Wizard, as it slowly moves towards her, trying to eat her. Huntress managing to free herself from the dirt just in time, as she then drains the snail, growing a bit larger. Huntress going and grabbing a bobby pin as she begins hunting down the mice in Fiona's apartment. Like, goddamn girl, clean your apartment for once. We then see kind of a brief history of Fionna and Felix, played out through all of the places that Fionna goes and looks for him at. First, she checks Felix's old apartment, where we see that they hooked up at. Spicy. But the apartment we see now in the present has been completely destroyed. She then goes to the record store that she used to work at, where her and Felix ran into each other in the past before they eventually dated. Fionna, in the past, jokingly asking Felix if he is stalking her, meaning that this isn't the first time that they've met. As we watch the two chat, Felix ultimately asks her out on a date. But we see in the present the record store is long closed. She then heads over to a pier carnival, where she used to work at, this being the place where Fionna and Felix met for the first time. Fionna being angry at her boss in the past, even wearing a fun little bunny hat similar to the beanie hat she wears in We also have a fun little reference here in this scene to the Gumball Guardians here, and then a bunch of other Easter eggs. Like here we see a bear that kind of looks like Hambo, Marceline's stuffed animal, as well we see a sea lard here and an elephant next to a pig, which very much feels like a reference to Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig. This little stuffed animal here possibly being Wyatt. As well, we see a number of gender-swapped characters here in these scenes, like for example Starchy and Lemon Hope. We watch Felix listen to Fionna vent about her work, as the two then take a Ferris wheel ride together. But we see in the present that the Pier Carnival is also closed as well. Fionna here running into Hunter and Fennel. Fionna not being too pleased at seeing Fennel, as she is Felix's new girlfriend. But Fennel is surprisingly nice to Fionna. Also, Fennel is the gender-swap version of Burn, as I said in my last video over Fionna and Cake. Fionna realizes she needs to change clothes for the meeting with the park authority, as she runs off. Cake we see has gone to the TV studio. We watch Cake walk into the studio where she is shocked to see that the cast of Cheers is tiny. The entire set being laid out in this little box with little people. Fionna we see rushes back to her apartment to change and stumbles upon the bodies of several mice. She is then shocked to see a tiny Huntress Wizard who is dressed in armor and wearing the mouse for clothes. Huntress is weak though, Fionna giving her a ham sandwich to eat as we watch her grow bigger again. Huntress then making a break for the door, getting attacked by the dog of the Fionna World version of the Lemongrad twins. Fionna managing to save her in time and wants to get her fed. In Ooh, we see Simon venture to the Ice Kingdom where he meets with Ice Thing, which if we remember is Gunter after he used the crown to turn himself into Ice King in the finale of Adventure Time, the episode Come Along With Me. Ice Thing agreeing to give Simon the wishing eye in exchange for watching him play the drums with Turtle Princess, who is Ice Thing's wife. Fionna calls Cake, telling her to meet at the corner grocery store ASAP. Cake has to go and shoot her scenes though for Cheers, all of her scenes being silly stretchy jokes. As well, we see a bunch more gender-swapped characters here in the audience, this one specifically being Zergiot. Cake gets angrier and angrier at the stretching jokes, as she ultimately stretches into a big dragon, knocking over the box with the Cheers cast in it. Cake then going full feral cat mode, seeing the tiny people running around, pouncing on them as she thinks they are like little mice, as the entire audience boos Cake. She then runs away. Not gonna lie, this whole scene here was weird as fuck. And I feel like there's definitely a joke here that is just completely going over my head. So if you got this joke, let me know in the comments section. Fionna then takes Huntress to the grocery store where Huntress frantically sucks the nutrients out of ham and other meats. Fionna is then confronted by the owner of the grocery store, Fionna's former boss, because Fionna has literally worked everywhere in this town. The boss, I think, is supposed to be the gender swap version of Breakfast Princess. Huntress continues to eat until finally she grows to her normal size, finally being able to speak again. Fionna frantically putting her cardigan around her to cover her booty. Huntress then stealing the overalls from the shopkeeper as she sees a beat, remembering Spirit Warrior's words to follow the beat, as she thinks about the heart of the forest, believing that this is her way home, as she goes running outside, seeing the city park nearby, Fionna and Cake chasing after her. Huntress tells Fionna that she's trying to get back to Ooh, as Fionna then calls Simon. Simon tells Huntress that Finn is currently in a stasis right now, but he's in critical condition. Huntress not being able to tell Simon how she got to Fionna's world. PB then grabs the phone asking what hurt Finn, but Huntress refused to tell her, saying it's green wizards only. Huntress telling PB to stay out of her way, as she then breaks Fionna's phone. Huntress though is still weak, falling from the tree, falling unconscious. Meanwhile back in Ooh, PB says that they can't count on Huntress, as Simon takes out the demonic wishing eye. Fionna and Cake then take Huntress back to their apartment, Fionna running into Felix on the way, as the two then plan up to meet the next day. Fionna ironically being the one who is now following Felix around to meet up with him, instead of the other way around, which we saw was how it happened when they first begin to date. Hunter then calls Cake as he's trying to get a hold of Fionna. Hunter mad at Fionna because she forgot all about the meeting with the park committee, as Hunter stuck his neck out for her. Fionna and Cake return to Fionna's apartment, Fionna seeing all of her belongings piled up outside, but she doesn't put two and two together, as they then go to her door, seeing an eviction notice on it. As if we remember, it is Marshall's mother who actually owns the apartment complex, as Season 2, Episode 4 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Fionna and Cake Episode 5 opens with a flashback to Marshall Lee as a child, as we see in these scenes a bit of a glimpse of the relationship between him and his mother Abadir, as we see Marshall's mother wants him to do his schoolwork, but Marshall is easily distracted, as we watch him begin playing a little beat on his desk, his mother constantly correcting him and putting him in his place, as finally she gets fed up, pushing him out of her office, giving him a handful of money. He then goes walking through the city, going by the park, where he hears some beautiful singing. Marshall then venturing inside where he sees Ice Queen, the ice cream saleswoman, singing a sad, beautiful song, playing her little keyboard and singing to these cats. Marshall then goes and buys some ice cream. He accidentally spills it on himself as he gets upset, apologizing as he has made a mess, something that his mother would hate and scold him for. The Ice Queen though then dumps some ice cream on herself, telling him that messes are welcome here, as she offers her keyboard to him, as we see a figure in a hat and a cloak is watching them from the bushes. Now, this scene is very interesting as we get a bit of a reveal on the relationship between Marshall and Ice Queen, this being teased in the last episode. Their relationship obviously mirroring the relationship to some degree between Marcy and Simon and Ooh, as it seems like Marshall was able to find some sort of acceptance within Ice Queen, the two bonding over their love for music. But something must have happened later on in life to their relationship, which again is teased later on in this episode. Either way, we can tell that a young, neglected Marshall had found a friend here in his time of need as a child, very similar, again, to the relationship between Simon and Marcy. In the present, we see Fionna has moved in with Cake after she was evicted from her apartment. Huntress Wizard has made a new outfit complete with red cape that was cut out of Fiona's clothes. Fionna, we see, has a lot on her plate, between trying to buy the sweet spot back, getting her apartment back, and helping Huntress Wizard. Huntress, though, still needs to find the heart of the forest here in Fiona's world. Fionna takes her to the oldest tree in the city, a willow tree that is very similar to Finn's treehouse, hoping that this can lead Huntress to the portal that she's looking for. Meanwhile, we see Marshall and Gary hanging out as Gary is frantically baking. Marshall offers to help, but we see that Gary is a bit of a control freak in his process, Marshall getting some flashbacks, some PTSD to how his mom used to treat him as a child. Gary then out of the blue asks Marshall to come and meet his parents and have dinner with them all later that evening. At the willow tree, we watch Huntress cut her hand off to the horror of Cake and Fiona. Huntress wanting to bond with the heart of the forest like we saw in her flashback, however, nothing happens. Marshall then calls Cake, wanting to speak with Fiona, asking to meet up with her later that day, as he is absolutely freaking out over Gary's invite to his parents. Gary also texts Cake, asking to meet up with Fiona for basically the same reason. Fiona then runs off to meet up with both of them, as we see Huntress's new cape was cut from the back of Fiona's dress. We then see a fun little mashup of scenes of Fiona meeting with both Gary and Marshall. Both of them, again, freaking out over basically the exact same thing. Fiona telling Marshall to bring some flowers if he's worried, and telling Gary that Marshall will love a home-cooked meal, as we then see one of Abadir's minions spying on Marshall, holding a smiling heart balloon that gives me Ricardio vibes. Marshall then giving Fiona his jacket to cover her booty. Cake gets a text from Incrom asking to redo their date, as Cake wants to leave and meet up with him, but Huntress senses a faint bit of magic coming from the tree. As she whistles into the leaf, the magic begins radiating out from said tree. Huntress reaches out and touching it, Cake touching her as the scene quickly fades to white. We then see Fiona go and meet up with DJ Flame as they had agreed to have lunch in the previous episode. Felix telling Fiona that he can help her out with the equipment but not the venue, and she should do whatever it takes to make her dreams happen, as he then takes her to his DJ studio, as we see a little kid with vitiligo busting a dope rap. This kid I think is supposed to be this world's Son of Rap Bear character, but I'm not sure. Cake and Huntress we see are transported inside of the tree, as we see Cake is now Huntress's missing hand. As we see a bunch of tardigrades hanging out in the tree. Cake is upset as she is missing her date again with Imcrom, as we see Imcrom sitting in a swan boat all alone, this swan looking like Princess Bubblegum's Swan Morrow. Huntress then touches a portal in the tree as they are transported into the willow tree of the house in Ooh, but we see it's Fiona and Cake's version of Ooh. Meanwhile, we see Gary and Marshall go to Gary's parents' house for dinner, as we see a photo of Gary's sister named Nellie, who is the gender swap version of Bubblegum's sibling, Nebby. As later we see a better scene of her in this episode that makes this connection between these two characters much more obvious. There's also some fun little Easter eggs in this scene, like this drawing of James Baxter horse here in the background, and several others. Gary's parents then play some old tapes of Gary as a kid, as we see him baking since he was just a little guy. Marshall is surprised to learn that Gary used to play the piano, as Gary's parents then ask Marshall to play a song for them. Marshall playing and singing the same song we heard Ice King sing to him at the beginning of the episode. Back in the tree, Huntress and Cake try another portal as they are transported to the willow tree, where they see a young Fiona and Cake version of Marshall jumping in the air. As the scene quickly then changes to the non-magical version, we see a young Marshall playing on the tree, jumping after a little butterfly. His mom coming outside, getting upset with him for ruining his clothes. Cake sees the little butterfly stuck in a web, as a spider descends on it, as she makes a joke about the butterfly effect as she quickly kills the spider, saving the butterfly. The butterfly effect is basically that any little action or change in the past when you time travel will have drastic repercussions on the future. Cake and Huntress then go into another portal, taking them farther forward in time, as we see the ramification of Cake's actions, as Fiona World is now covered in webs, as we see large shadows of butterflies looming above them. Baby Finn popping out of nowhere, accompanied by Pep Tank slaying one of these giant horrifying butterflies. Pep Tank explaining that 1,000 years ago an epidemic of monstrous spiderflies took over, covering the world in a shadow of silken death, as it all started with a colony of 5 in this specific tree. This future basically being all Cake's fault. Huntress manages to find the portal to the past again, as we see Marshall and Gary post dinner. Marshall is upset about thinking what it was like for him as a kid, as he says that adults say they care for you and then they suddenly ghost you. Gary believing that he's talking about his own mother, but it seems to me more likely that he's talking about Ice Queen. Marshall then confides in Gary that the way he gets all controlling reminds him of his mother, and it kinda messes him up. Gary suggests he expresses how he feels through his music, and he should make a new song about it. We see Fiona walking through town as she comes upon the sweet spot, as we see Queenie has a team of bulldozers about to demolish the area, as Queenie has gone back on their deal. Fiona ultimately making a new deal where she agrees to pay $70K now to save the sweet spot. Fiona then leaves as she is followed by a weird-looking dog, who is totally not a dog. This scene kind of giving me fun vibes to that Adventure Time episode when Finn and Jake had to deal with the weird-ass horse, which turned out to be the Ice King in a horse costume. as we see this dog is actually a man in a dog costume, a man who works for Marshall's mom, Abadir. In the tree, Cake jumps through one of the portals, as we see they are by the willow tree in Fionna world, but it's super dirty and weird, as we watch Abadir exit a nearby building calling for Fifi, as we see Fionna come running in a suit, Fionna telling her that she kicked out all of the squatters in this area, as Abadir is planning to build a new hotel here on this spot. Cake feeling bad for Fionna. Huntress then pulls her back in the tree as they find the correct portal to the present. Cake stretching out and grabbing Huntress's severed hand on the ground as both of them regain their bodies. Huntress being naked once again. Cake ultimately fixing her mistake by instantly murking the 5 butterflies, saving the future, as we see Huntress's antlers have now grown larger. However, this tree wasn't the heart of the forest that she was looking for. We then move over to Abadir's tower as Damon, her servant, enters. Abadir asking what Damon has found about her boy. But we see Fionna is actually here too, and she wants to speak with Abadir. Fionna thinking back to Felix's words, do whatever it takes to make it happen, as it seems that Fionna is planning to make a deal with the devil to fix all their problems. In our final scene, we transfer back to Ew, as we watch Simon use the demonic wishing eye to try to save Finn. He, Marcy, and PB are transported to see Wishy. Wishy saying that Finn's like a new man, as they are then teleported back to Ew, seeing Finn still sick with a stupid set of fake glasses disguised on his face, as we see that Finn's condition has worsened, as episode 5 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Fionna and Cake Season 2 Episode 6 opens with the origin story of the Cosmic Owl. We see that the owl was once one of 2 brothers who were inseparable. Literally. They're literally stuck together. But the brothers constantly got into trouble, their antics leading them to commit what seems like a cosmic crime. One of the brother puts the blame on the other, the judge then splitting them in 2 and banishing the accused brother, while the remaining brother was chastised for betraying his brother, and as punishment he was sentenced to become Fate's messenger, as we watch him then turned into the Cosmic Owl. Yeah, like, what the fuck, Adventure Time? I have so many questions here, like, probably most importantly, what happened to the Cosmic Owl's brother? And I really hope we get some more context and information about the Cosmic Owl in later episodes, because they can't just leave us hanging after dropping this shit on us. Over in Fionna world, we see Fionna has called all of her friends to meet in the cemetery, but Hunter hasn't shown up, as Fionna takes them all to the Abadir mausoleum, which opens as we see Marshall's mother, Fionna revealing that she has made a deal with Abadir to provide the venue for their fundraiser, which we saw she was going to do at the end of the previous episode. Abadir is excited to see her son again, as we see that the woman has prepared Marshall's tomb for whenever he dies. Next to it is a less detailed one that will be for his future partner. Oh yeah, fun little reference here, we also see Marshall wearing a band shirt, which is similar to kind of Marceline's band shirt that we know PB also uses as pajamas, and we also see Gary later sleeping in this shirt, this kind of mirroring Gary and PB. Cake then warns Fionna about working with Abadir as she tells her about the visions she saw in the previous episode of Fionna becoming Abadir's lackey, which for some reason I thought was supposed to be a vision of the past, but it's actually a potential vision of the future, which does make a lot more sense. We see Hunter arrive late as he is going over what he wants to say to Fionna about his feelings. Hunter running into Huntress Wizard outside as the 2 gender-swapped characters look at each other, Huntress calling Hunter a soft and weak version of her. Over in Ooh, we see Finn's condition is getting worse, as Marceline floats the idea of turning Finn into a vampire to save him, which would make for a hilarious spin-off series. PB wanting to use an aging serum on him to try and raise morale, as no one wants to see Finn all wrinkly. Marcy, though, is plagued by some intrusive internal thoughts from the Vampire King inside of her, as she can't resist, Marcy leaning down, biting Finn on the neck, the sickness within Finn making her sick as well as she passes out. Back over in Cake's apartment, we see Fionna, Cake, and Huntress all asleep, as well as a funny little Lady Rainicorn sticker here. Huntress in her dreams sees baby Finn walking as we watch him grow into teen Finn, and then adult Finn, and then to a super old Finn, this also being how he looks in the Adventure Time episode Bahoy, you know, the episode where Finn freaking dies. Huntress watching all of this wishing Finn wasn't so foolhardy and stupid and wishing he didn't get hurt. As we watch Finn leave the apartment, Huntress realizing she's in a dream, as she looks up seeing the Cosmic Owl, who tells her that he has to give Finn a croak dream. A croak dream, as we learned from this series as well as in Adventure Time, is a premonition of a person's death that usually signifies that they are going to die soon after they see the dream, as Huntress starts shooting at the Cosmic Owl, as she then moves on to another dream chasing the Cosmic Owl. We flash over to Fionna's dream as she looks down, seeing the Ooh version of herself in a reflection, as Huntress and the Cosmic Owl suddenly enter her dream. Huntress telling Fionna that she is dreaming, as she then follows Huntress into Cake's dream. as we see Cake is dreaming about her and Imcrom having kids on the set of Cheers, as we see cute kitty versions of Jake and Lady Rainicorn's puppies. Cake dropping her babies as she gets up, stubbing her foot, as we see the Cosmic Owl enter, followed by Fionna and Huntress chasing him. Fionna grabbing Cake as they then pursue the owl into the next dream. Incrom, in a hilarious scene, then gets approached by the gender swap version of Mr. Cupcake, who hits on him, as we know from Adventure Time that Jake was terrified that Mr. Cupcake would steal Lady Unicorn from him. They then pass through Ellis's dream, which is weird as hell, and then over into Marshall's dream, as we see a young Marshall walk through the park calling out for Simone, which is the gender swap Fionna World version of Simon. As last episode I discussed how this relation between Marshall and Simone was teased and somewhat mirrors the relationship between Simon and Marcy and Ooh, as a young dream Marshall sees Simone transform into his mother. We then move over into an unknown dream as we see Fionna is being wooed by Hunter and DJ Flame. Fionna assuming that they must be in Flame's dream, though I kinda highly doubt it, as Fionna in sheer glee holds on to Huntress Wizard, letting the Cosmic Owl get away, as she exclaims that her and DJ Flame must be meant to be, as we watch her dip Flame as she is about to kiss him until Huntress slaps her in the face, waking her up. Fionna then waking Cake up as we see Cake stub her toe, the Cosmic Owl making events in her dream come true. Huntress telling the other two about the Cosmic Owl and the Croak dreams, specifically that this is for Finn's Croak dream. Cake then suggesting they go into Finn's dream to try to stop the Cosmic Owl. Huntress tries to tap into Finn's dream using Fionna, but this is not the Ooh Finn, but the normal world Finn who Fionna met in season 1. Oh, as well, there's a couple little Easter eggs here, like the clouds in the shape of the ice crown, as in this world Finn put on the ice crown long ago, which again we saw in the events of Finn the Human. We also see a funny little reference to tree trunks here. So then Huntress taps into normal Finn's mind to get into Finn's dream. Back in Ooh, we see Marcy recovering by sucking the color out of PB's hair, as we then see normal Finn, Huntress, and Fionna enter into Ooh Finn's mind. As we see in Finn's dream, he's playing out a weird sort of play in which he fights evil bad guys, but he then dies over and over and over again. As we watch Finn fighting off a kissing monster, and then he is attacked by some little vampire bat clocks. The kissing alluding to the princesses all kissing him to try to make him better, the vampire bats likely alluding to Marcy biting him. Huntress and normal Finn then lay a trap for the Cosmic Owl as Huntress tells Fionna to go and protect Ooh Finn, which she does very poorly, as she tells Finn that he's in a coma, and she's there to protect him, Finn replying, "You're like my girl version of Jake," when we watch him get donked by the head by these massive clock arrows as he dies.
Who are you?
My name is Fionna, and I'm here to keep you alive.
Dude, you're like my girl, Jake.
Finn dies multiple times within this dream as the scene is reset every single time he dies, and we see him die in a variety of ways, from getting cut in half to his head cut off to chopped up by a cuckoo clock. This scene here being a fun reference to the cuckoo clock that belonged to the King of Huge. Fionna and Finn continue to fight against a variety of foes, Fionna asking Finn how he keeps going. Finn saying he listens to his hero heart and trusts the universe to lead him, as Finn is grabbed by this clock and then pulled towards its Iron Maiden. We watch the Cosmic Owl then arrive, getting caught in Huntress's trap. The Cosmic Owl then lunging towards Huntress, who stabs him in the chest with a spike, right before we watch Finn get glomped by the Iron Maiden. Huntress having killed the Cosmic Owl, which I imagine is likely a cosmic crime, as we see her hands are covered in his cosmic blood. As we watch the scene change, Finn being brought alive again as they stuff the Cosmic Owl's body into Finn's dream, which I'm sure will have no consequences at all, right? Huntress then speaking with Dream Finn, telling him that she's gonna save him. Finn telling her that he loves her, catching Huntress with her off guard, who then turns away saying nothing.
I love you, Huntress.
Fionna telling Huntress she should let him know what Finn means to her, as Huntress pulls them all out of the dream. Cake tells Fionna she should take a day off, but she refuses, as Fionna knows that she's supposed to be a hero and she wants to help her friends, Cake telling her to follow her heart. Fionna then gets dressed and heads over to DJ Slime's radio station where Flame has been all night. Fionna talking with DJ Flame outside, as he tells her he saw her in a dream, as she wants to ask him if he still has feelings for her, but Felix, DJ Flame, like a doofus, cuts her off, assuming that she's going to ask him to play at the fundraiser, to which he says yes. We then watch the gender swap version of Marceline's ex-boyfriend Ash knock a flower pot off of a windowsill, Fionna pulling Felix out of the way, dipping him like what happened in the dream. As both of them blush, Fionna getting a flash of the undead-looking Simon, as Flame gets a call from his new girlfriend Fennel, Fionna looking sad. Over at Gary's apartment, we see him wake up wearing one of Marshall's band shirts, again a reference to PB wearing Marceline's shirt as pajamas, as Marshall is practicing his new song that was inspired by the events of his dream. Over in Ooh, everyone is sleepy and still around Finn, PB adding color back to her hair, as we see BMO drawing on Finn's face. BMO, again being probably the funniest character in all of Adventure Time, hits us with this absolute banger of a line.
He's risen.
As we watch Season 2, Episode 6 of Fionna and Cake come to an end. Season 2, Episode 7 of Fionna and Cake opens with Ellis sleeping, as we watch him lift into the air, almost like he's being abducted by aliens, as we then see a strange lady appear, a lady that seems kind of similar to Dream Warrior in her appearance, as she stands on a pad that looks like a Dance Dance Revolution pad. This pad is also very similar to the pad that Magic Man uses in Adventure Time to travel back and forth to Mars. The woman says she has an important message, but it's not for Ellis. This upsetting Ellis, who doesn't want to hear it if it's not for him, as he covers his ears, as they are unable to actually hear the message that is given to him. We then flash over to the poster for the fundraiser for the Sweet Spot, aka Boys Night, as we see Fionna adds a sticker to it announcing DJ Flame has been added as the headliner to Boys Night. Fionna being completely oblivious as how this could hurt Marshall's feelings, as he has been practicing really hard on his new material and songs, and now his set has been shortened for Flame. We also get a fun little Easter egg as Gary is wearing a cat shirt, his cat looking like PB's cat Timmy. Meanwhile, Huntress is still trying to find the heart of the forest as she thinks back to Dream Warrior's words about a broken tool seeking the flame. Later at the Abadir Mausoleum, Fionna is waiting for Flame to show up to do a tech setup before the actual event at the fundraiser, but Flame is nowhere to be found. Fionna being convinced that Flame wants her back. Fionna waits all day, but Flame no-shows, and he doesn't even pick up his phone when she calls, as Fionna starts freaking out. Cake, in an adorable scene, wraps around her like a hoodie, which is like a way cuter version of Jake's suit. Fionna is convinced that Fennel, Flame's new girlfriend, is trying to keep Flame away from her. As later early the next morning, Fionna barges over to his apartment, as we see that Felix's full name is Felix Principio, also with Felix spelled with a P instead of an F, which I'm not gonna lie is kind of weird. But I guess it does make sense because Flame Princess's first name is Phoebe with a P. Fionna then bangs on his door, but it is Fennel who answers it, as she tells Fionna that Felix hadn't returned home yesterday, and she has been worried sick about him. Fionna then asking Huntress Wizard to help them find him. Huntress, though, has her own things to worry about, as instead she gives the two girls a plant which will give them wizard eyes to track them, both of the girls being impatient, devouring more leaves than they should, as they are now absolutely zooted. As the two girls go running outside laughing together, as we see that Fionna and Fennel are way more similar than Fionna would like to admit, which makes sense seeing as Fennel is the Fionna world version of Fern, who is literally just Finn plus a plant demon. The girls go running out in the street as they see a little spirit running around. As we know from Adventure Time, wizard eyes let you see spirits in the spirit world, in our world, something that Ice King had to deal with basically every day, as the girls go and chase the spirit, which leads them into a nail and hair salon. Inside they say Ellis getting his nails done with an aura glowing around him, as both of them see his ooh version in spirit form, specifically Lumpy Space Prince. Imcom is also there, as well as the Fionna gender swap version of the weird Wood Witch from that one episode in Adventure Time who is obsessed with princess hair. Fionna and Fennel again seeing the Fionna ooh version of Imcrom in all of his horse glory. Fionna then tells Ellis Flame has gone missing. Ellis tells them that whenever hotties go missing in this town, it's because they've been taken by aliens, something he knows from personal experience. As Fionna and Fennel see more spirits outside as they chase after them to a burning building. The girls thinking this burning is Flame's aura as they run inside, but it's actually a legit real burning building as we see a group of firefighters who are the gender swap version of the water nymphs. Cake then locks the girls in a porta potty for their own safety as she goes and tries to find Huntress Wizard. Fionna and Fennel then have a bit of a heart-to-heart, as Fionna feels like she's been doing a lot of bad lately, and everyone seemingly has their stuff figured out, even Hunter except for her. Fennel telling Fionna that Hunter was not always this level-headed, it took them a long time to figure their shit out. Fennel dropping some wise words of wisdom and some life lessons on us. Fionna then wonders if they focus their intention on Felix together if the wizard eyes would show them the way. As they exit the porta potty seeing the same alien pad that Ellis saw, as the girls both jump on it, being launched into space. Meanwhile, Huntress and Cake arrive, but the girls are gone. Huntress seeing the broken shovel as she thinks back to Spirit Warrior's words, as she realizes that Flame will lead her to the heart of the forest. Huntress then runs to the park as she traces back Fionna's spirit to outside Flame's apartment, as she then jumps into a tree looking back to earlier in the tree's memory of the previous day, as she sees Flame walking home in the rain on a phone call as he mentions a street crossing Morin Orange. Huntress then asking Hunter what exactly Morin Orange is as he explains that it's a street address. Meanwhile, we see Marshall practicing one of his songs on the roof when he finds one of his mom's goons dressed up in a pigeon outfit who has been keeping an eye on him. As we saw in the flashback, this dude has been doing this since Marshall was a little kid. as Marshall learns from him that his mother issued a restraining order on Simone. Marshall having believed that Simone just ghosted him this entire time, as now he learns the truth, that it wasn't her fault. Meanwhile, we see Fionna and Fennel hurtling through space when they are taken to the planet Venus. As we know in Adventure Time, Finn and Jake interact with a Martian society on Mars a lot, whose king is freaking Abraham Lincoln. But in Fionna World, it's the planet Venus apparently, a planet that is obsessed with love. As Venus is the Roman goddess of love, the planet seemingly being ruled by a Venus statue. As we are then treated to a really weird and wacky musical number.
When we kiss, I fall in love again with you. All of you. I love you.
Yeah, I know, this episode is absolutely weird as fuck, but I'm here for it. We learn that the Venetians have kidnapped Flame because he is a beacon of love and lust and enough to power their entire city. Fionna and Fennel challenging them to a duel in the name of love, as they are then fitted out in love-enhanced battle armor, which really gives me vibes to that armor that Finn and Jake had to wear when they worked for King of Oo. They then battle the champion of Venus, who I believe is like a weird gender swap version of Ricardio the Heart, as we see they get jacked up and stronger on the love of the audience, as their armor and weapons are all enhanced by the power of love. Again, it's Venus. As the girls then get their ass kicked, Fennel then comes in clutch when she starts giving Fionna legitimate compliments, like how she loves how brave she is, and how she supports her friends, and that she has admired Fionna for so long. Fionna getting powered up and busting out of her bindings. Fionna being unable to really give any compliments back to Fennel.
Now do me! You have cool hair. What else? I just met you.
Well, at least at first, until she starts trying, as we see Fionna finally realizes that she wants to be friends with Fennel, as the two girls then kick the shit out of this weird heart robot, the two winning the duel, grabbing Flame and flying off. Fionna looking at Fennel as she sees Fennel's ooh version of herself, this I think being the first time we've actually seen Fennel in her actual fern form, as the girls then laugh and hug, accidentally dropping Flame. Meanwhile, back in Fionna World, Hunter and Huntress head to the cross street, as they stumble upon a group of people who they believe have Flame, the two of them beating up these goons, only to realize that Flame is actually here of his own free will to play a gig for the Fionna World Lemongrab sisters. Well, technically it's for their dog's birthday. Huntress then popping off at Flame, telling him if he had just communicated, this whole thing could have been completely avoided. Huntress calling Flame an ass, as Cake then arrives, who simultaneously calls Huntress an ass, as Huntress was supposed to help Cake find Fionna and Fennel. We flash over to the two girls as we see them crying and freaking out, as we see they are actually just completely zooted off their minds. Huntress putting some shtees on their eyes, which snaps them out of their weird wizard vision, as we see the two girls have somehow ended up on top of the Ferris wheel, as we have no idea if the weird vision that they just experienced has even happened at all. As we see Fionna and Fennel looking straight up like twinsies, their relationship having changed a lot in this episode. Huntress telling Fionna she will help her save her sweet spot. Oh, also another funny Easter egg, a lot of these spirits are just straight up the exact same spirits that we saw terrorizing Ice King in Adventure Time. Marshall then calls Fionna as he tells her he doesn't want to have the boys' night event at the mausoleum after what he has learned about his mother and Simone. Fionna, being the doofus that she is, completely misreads this, as she tells Marshall it's okay that he backs out, and she says it's too late to change anything at this point. News that Marshall obviously isn't going to take very well, as episode 7 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Season 2, episode 8 of Fionna and Cake opens with the backstory for the origins of the Green Wizards in the heart of the forest. As we see that many of the Green Wizards were once a trio of bandits, but their lives were changed when Dream Warrior showed them to the heart of the forest, specifically in stag form, the creature granting them their Green Wizard powers, but we see that their powers would fade after they were too far away from the heart. One day the heart of the forest vanished, and after much searching they managed to find it. The wizards, fearing that they would lose the heart again and their powers, decided to trap it, to keep their source of magic safe and a secret. This giving us more context and explaining the events that happened earlier on in the season, why specifically Huntress Wizard only thought the heart of the forest was the bush and not the actual stag creature beneath it, and why the creature beneath it was chained and bound, as again the Green Wizards did this out of greed, so they would not lose the source of their magic. Back over in Fionna World, we see that Abadir has pulled her support in the venue for the Boys' Night fundraiser. Fionna freaking out, trying to find a new venue before that evening, as she then gets a call from DJ Flame. Flame telling her that he may not be able to make it to the fundraisers because the Lemongrab sisters have trapped him and forced him to DJ for 2 days straight. As we see that Flame's prison is almost like a lantern, this being a reference to the prison that Flame Princess was trapped in by her father in Adventure Time. Suddenly though, Fionna and Huntress are lifted off the ground in a blue ball, as Fionna begs Cake to figure out the stuff with the fundraiser, as Fionna and Huntress then poof out of existence. Meanwhile in Ooh, Simon, PB, and Marcy are all blindfolded as they are attempting to find the heart of the forest. We see that Fionna and Huntress have been summoned by Orbo, a character who is kind of high up in the cosmic order of the multiverse in Adventure Time. Seemingly the only character higher up than him is actually Golb. As Fionna and Huntress are being put on trial for a cosmic crime, the killing of the cosmic owl that we know happened in the previous episode. As Orbo got an anonymous tip that these two were responsible for the owl's death, and that the punishment is an eternity in the pain vortex. Fionna randomly is wearing a ring for some reason, which Huntress Wizard takes and tries to use to cut their way out of the holding cell. The witness is then called, and it is revealed to be Scarab, who, using Prismo's Cosmic TV, stumbled upon Fionna and Huntress depositing Cosmic Owl's body in the cuckoo clock in Fionn's dream. Fionna says that Prismo will vouch for her, but we see that Prismo is pretty messed up after the death of his close friend Cosmic Owl, Prismo having lost his 2 best friends, Jake and the Owl now. Scarab then uses his prison to reveal the cosmic blood on Fionna and Huntress' hand, as the evidence is starting to mount up against them. As well, we obviously know that they actually did this crime. Hey guys, I just need to interrupt this video real quick to ask you all a quick favor to please hit that subscribe button, as your engagement on this video really does go a long way in putting it into the algorithm. Okay, let's get back to the video. Meanwhile, Cake gives herself a pep talk with Imcrom as she vows to make Boys Night happen. As she then goes and saves Flame from his prison, as she gets an idea that the Lemon Sisters' house would make a perfect spot for the venue. As the word gets spread to everyone to start heading over to their house for the party, we see Huntress Wizard use the ring to break a hole in the cell, trying to escape, but it ultimately doesn't work, as she then drops the ring outside of their crystal prison. And knowing Adventure Time, it wouldn't shock me if this ring was somehow important for like next week's episode. Fionna then cross-examines Scarab, as Scarab didn't actually see the two of them commit the crime. However, it still doesn't look good for the two of them, as Fionna in panic puts the blame on Finn.
Finn did it.
At the fundraiser, we see that things are starting to go pretty well. We also see a ton of gender-swapped characters and like references here to the original Adventure Time series. There's like more characters here than I can even count, but basically like 90% of these characters are basically gender-swapped characters from the original Adventure Time series. Marshall sees Simone outside the venue as he then rushes to talk to her. Marshall, now knowing what his mother did, tries to make things right with her. Cake then sends the hilarious squirrel from Ooh onto the stage to do the announcements for the venue.
I want to help the sweet spot? Yes. Am I afraid of public speaking? No. Am I getting paid for this?
Just get on the stage.
Goddamn, I freaking love this character. But when he announces DJ Flame, Flame doesn't come out, as we see that Flame is half asleep after having DJ'd for 2 days straight. Cake then sends out a number of characters onto the stage to buy time, as then we get a fun kind of montage scene of all of these performances, interlaced with Fionna putting the blame on Finn. These montage scenes all being done to the rap song of the Fionna World version of Son of Rap Bear, which is a pretty banging song. The crowd though still wants DJ Flame, as Cake then begs Marshall to perform. Marshall relenting as we hear his beautiful new song, which I have to say was pretty great, but man, do I just wish we got over 2 minutes of uninterrupted like Marcy singing in the actual Adventure Time series. The crowd absolutely loves Marshall's song, the song even invigorating DJ Flame, who is now ready to do his set. Back over in the cosmic plane, Huntress is mad that Fionna put all the blame on Finn, as it doesn't make sense at all to her. Fionna then telling her that she had this weird gut feeling that it was the right thing to do. Oh, as well, I forgot to mention that the butterfly here on Fionna's shirt is a reference to one of Finn's past lives, the blue butterfly. As Orbo then tells both of them that they are in the clear, for now, as he then sends them back to their world. At the fundraiser, we see they've raised a good amount of money, but it's not enough. Cake then steals some TV equipment, begging everyone in town to donate, as we then watch her stretch her little arms all over the town, collecting money as she goes. Cake, absolutely exhausted, kisses Imcrom, but the vibes just aren't there, as she then passes out from exhaustion. Huntress and Fionna appearing back in their world just in time to catch her. Fionna is upset as Gary announces that the sweet spot is officially saved, Fionna being mad that her friends did all of this without her. Flame then comes backstage as we watch him stroke Fionna's cheek, his hand then turning into a zombie-like hand. The same thing that happened to Simon's face early on in the season, as I imagine this is some bad omen for the future of this season, as Fionna then kisses Flame, the two of them making out until Fennel suddenly comes backstage and sees this as she runs off crying, Flame running after her. Fionna running off crying herself as she is very upset. She is then stopped by Abadir's henchman, who gives her a phone. Hannah Abadir is on the line and she offers her a job. Fionna, though, runs off crying again as she finds herself at the sweet spot. Fionna is emotional and angry as she has bust her butt for her friend's dream, but they seemingly just did it without her. Fionna getting in one of the bulldozers as she begins causing mayhem, knocking over Marshall's van, which crushes Gary's trailer with all of his baking stuff. Huntress then arrives as she realizes that the heart of the forest is not one place in Fiona's world, but it's all around her. As Huntress then probes Fiona's mind like we saw her do in the previous episode, as Fionna screams out, "No." We flash over to Ooh as Simon, Marcy, and PB have found the heart of the forest, which we see is dying. PB realizing that there's nothing they can do to save it, as she pulls out one of her weapons, which we saw her use in Adventure Time, and blast it.
With my ball bam burglar burr.
BMO then calls PB, telling them that Finn is doing great. So great, he has ascended from this plane of existence. As we see next to BMO is just a massive smoking hole, as Finn has likely been taken by Orbo to pay for the death of the Cosmic Owl, a cosmic crime which Fionna put on him, as Season 2, Episode 8 of Fionna and Cake comes to an end. Season 2, Episode 9 of Fionna and Cake opens as we are inside of Fiona's mind. As if we remember in the closing moments of Episode 8, Huntress Wizard probed Fiona's mind. Huntress believing the portal to the heart, her way back to Ooh, was buried deep within Fiona's mind. Fionna then accidentally enters Huntress's mind, where we see the dark corner tucked away in the back of her brain, the thing that links her to the green magic, as we know that magic in Adventure Time is often connected with trauma. As Fionna sees a burning home with a little young Huntress Wizard inside, this being a callback to Huntress's backstory, the story of how her adopted parents died in a fire. Suddenly, though, the fire stops as we see this door open, revealing the heart of the forest, which was inside Huntress this entire time. Huntress and Fionna then following the heart through this portal in the door, leading them back to the space between the multiverses where we saw Huntress was earlier on in this season, as we see these strange red orbs falling and rising from the clouds above and below. Fionna is depressed as hell as we watch her fall down through the clouds, Huntress grabbing an orb to weigh her down as she tries to chase after Fionna. A portal also opens in Fionna World as we see Cake emerge in the space between the dimensions with all of them, Cake chasing after Fionna as Huntress stops when she hears the cries of a creature. A massive blue worm then emerging from the clouds, its mouth open as it barely avoids eating Cake. Fionna hits the ground into a freaky Venus flytrap as we see acid begin to fill inside the flower. Fionna being saved as we see a sword cut through it and a person in a cloak pulls her out. This person revealed to be Fern. Which is pretty freaking crazy, as the last time we saw Fern was in the Adventure Time finale, Come Along With Me, when it was basically presumed that Fern was dead, after he dissolved when Finn and Jake removed the grass demon from him. But we see that our boy has been here the entire time, and he has grown now around 29 plus years old, exactly like Finn. Meanwhile, Huntress follows the cries, where she discovers a little seedling creature who is in pain, this creature having a weird disease growing on it. Huntress reaching out and healing this little dude. In the undergrowth, we see Cake in the pile of red stuff as the very kind and friendly karmic worm comes and speaks with her. This worm, we come to learn later in the episode, is basically the god of karma in the Adventure Time multiverse. His job is to eat these balls of pain when someone in the multiverse pushes down a very painful thought. Once he eats these orbs, he processes them and they fruit again on the trees, the thought then floating back up to their source when they are ripe. So yeah, he basically eats bad thoughts and then shits them out again, and he is a complete and total sweetheart. It being revealed later in this episode that the karmic worm is the brother of the cosmic owl that was cast down, this being his punishment, as the karmic worm befriends Cake and then helps her look for Fionna. Meanwhile, we see Fern and Fionna walking, Fern telling Fionna he is kind of like Finn's doppelganger, as he remembers dying in Ooh, but then his consciousness awoke here where he has been ever since. As Fern in a way is very similar to Fionna. Fern wanted to be Finn, he wanted his things, he wanted his friends, but he came to realize though that he is his own person. He is something completely else. Fern takes Fionna to his garden of pain orbs, all of which are painful thoughts and moments that belong to Finn. For instance, like the moment that he lost his arm in Adventure Time when he was trying to keep his father Martin from leaving, as well we see a moment between Huntress and Finn as an adult, when Finn asks Huntress to live with him, but she in so many words basically kind of turns him down. Fionna turning and seeing a really big orb as we see an adult Finn with tears in his eyes yelling out for Jake. This likely being the moment when Jake died, but Fern then pulls Fionna away from it as he tells her he really doesn't want to see that one. Fern's reaction again making it more likely that this is the moment when Jake dies for real, which we really have to clarify because Jake dies multiple times throughout the Adventure Time series and then comes back to life every single time until his real death, which happens off screen sometime in the time skip. This being the first real scene and reference we've actually seen of the moment when Jake dies for real. As we see that Finn's pain tree is quite large, Fern telling Fionna that the balls on Finn's tree won't float back up, as Finn is not ready to deal with all of these feelings. This again making a lot of sense, as everything we know about Finn, he is far more likely to push down and lock away these negative feelings and emotions than actually come to terms with them. Meanwhile, we see the little guy lead Huntress to the source of the corruption, as we see it as Witch Wizard, who is sucking up the green magic from the source, this corrupting her as well, as we see that she has the bottle of sap that Huntress collected from the heart of the forest that she was going to use to heal Finn, but the bottle is empty. Fionna, meanwhile, looks at the unresolved junk of her friend Gary, Ellis, Marshall, and Hunter. Hunter being upset that Fionna missed her meeting with the park department, as Hunter wishes Fionna would just get her shit together. Fionna then seeing an orb of herself, as we see a young Fionna living at the animal shelter playing with some kitties. The staff referring to Fionna as a stray, as this seems to imply that Fionna was raised in an animal shelter. Fionna looking at the last orb as we once again see the zombified vision of Simon. Meanwhile, Huntress is fighting Witch Wizard, who continues to grow more and more corrupted. Huntress, though, beating her ass. Cake and the Karmic Worm are hanging out, getting to know each other, the Karmic Worm being lonely down here away from other deities, as he thinks that Cake is a goddess. Cake, though, kind of feels like a freak. Even though she can stretch into anything, she always feels like it seems wrong, like she's trying to become something she's not. The Karmic Worm and Cake then doing a little song number about transformation and change, as Cake and the Karmic Worm seem like they have a little bit of a thing going on here. Fern then takes Fionna to the worm's home, which is a pizza box, again this being a reference to the pizza that he and his brother stole before they are punished and turned into the Cosmic Owl and the Karmic Worms respectively. As we see, the worm is already there with Cake, as Fionna and Cake are reunited again. The worm then giving them the lore drop about he and his brother, revealing that his brother is the Cosmic Owl. Fionna and Cake then telling him that his brother is dead. We see the worm, though, still has his brother's regrets in these orbs, and this is the only thing he has left of the Cosmic Owl. The worm then gets an idea, as he explains that deities are like ideas, they are hard to kill, as we watch him smash open the ball of regret, revealing a much smaller Cosmic Owl. The owl then heading back to the multiverse. Here we see Orbo is interrogating Finn, who is still in a coma. All of a sudden, though, the new Cosmic Owl emerges from the body of the old owl, as he demands he let Finn go, saying he got shanked on purpose. Cosmic Owl then doubling down and quitting his job as basically god of fate and dreams. The worm being proud of his brother for setting things right. This motivating Fionna, who also wants to set things right in her world. Huntress then arrives with Witch Wizard, as they all then decide it's time to go their separate ways. Fionna going back to her world, Huntress to Ooh, and Cake deciding she wants to stay here with the worm for a little while to learn more about herself, as we watch the three ladies hug it out. Fionna then heads back to her own world. Meanwhile in Ooh, we see Simon, Marcy, and PB are trying to figure out how to help Finn, whose condition is very rapidly getting worse. PB saying that there's no other choice. They have to call Finn's mom. As we remember, Finn's mom uploaded her consciousness into a bunch of robot versions of herself, so it seems like PB is seeking Finn's mom to try to help him cure him, or possibly do the same thing and put Finn's consciousness into a robot. As in our final scene, we flash back to Huntress, who is trying to take the portal back to Ooh, but as she touches it, the portal suddenly breaks. This possibly being due to PB destroying the heart of the forest, which we saw in the previous episode, as episode 9 of Fionna and Cake Season 2 comes to an end. The Fionna and Cake Season 2 finale opens with a flashback as we see Finn in his early 20s in the new human city of Ooh. As we see Finn fighting a bunch of little burger mite monsters who are chewing on this wiring, Finn destroying them and saving his mother Minerva, who, if we remember from Adventure Time, his mother Minerva uploaded her consciousness to a computer and created a robot version of herself. Finn's mom Minerva then doting on Finn, as she says she has set him up with a date with a human girl. Finn telling his mother that he already has a girlfriend, at least kind of. Finn referring to Huntress Wizard here, as at this time the relationship between Huntress and Finn was complicated as hell. Minerva, though, doesn't want Finn to waste the good years of his life, his mom just wanting her son to be happy. As a big crux of the season finale, this episode is the nature of the relationship between Huntress and Finn, how Huntress hasn't allowed herself to share her real emotions and feelings with Finn, who we know is, well, dying. In the present, we see Bubblegum has taken the dying Finn to his mother's human city, in the hopes that his mom can save him, the plan being to upload Finn's consciousness to a robot to preserve him at all costs, as Bubblegum declares that this is Finn the human's last day. Over in Fionna World, we see Gary and Marshall stumble upon the destroyed sweet spot, Gary giving us a little reference to Bubblegum and her problem with varmints.
What kind of a low-down varmint could commit such a cruel act?
We then see Fionna return from the Karmic Worm dimension, Fionna admitting to her friends that she was the one who destroyed the sweet spot in a fit of anger, Gary and Marshall walking away in anger. Fionna then stumbles upon Hunter and Finnel talking, Finnel being super upset because she thought that her and Fionna could have been close friends. In the space between worlds, Huntress tries to rebuild the portal back to Ooh, but it is completely broken. Huntress connecting to all of her seedlings through the different worlds, but none of them are in Ooh. Also, hilariously, in these scenes, we learn that Huntress is the mother of Finn's children in the normal universe.
Mom? You came back.
Crap.
Back in Ooh, we see everyone has gathered to see Finn in his final day, as we see that all of Jake's children are there. A banana guard then announces that Finn's closest family member is going to join them, this being teased to be Jake, only to be revealed to be Nepter. Not cool Adventure Time playing with our heartstrings like that, making us think that Jake actually isn't dead for a moment. Huntress then comes up with an idea. Which wizard can still tap into the heart of the forest in Ooh? So if the two of them work together, they should be able to get back to their own world. As Huntress convinces her to work together, the two of them then connecting their spirit to the heart of the forest in this very trippy scene. Back in Ooh, we see they are putting the dying Finn in the coffin to upload his consciousness, as PB and Marcy sing Finn's favorite song, the song about sleepy puppies, that Margaret, Finn's adopted mom, used to sing to him and Jake, as everyone is looking on crying, as it seems like this truly is Finn's final moments. All of a sudden, though, a flash of green energy erupts from the coffin, Huntress emerging through Finn's injury, which linked him to the heart of the forest, as we see Huntress now has a new body. Huntress then attempts to save Finn, but she needs more life energy, as BMO, being the sweet little robot he is, tells Huntress to take his. Real quick tangent here, I just have to say that BMO is like by far and away my favorite Adventure Time character, so much so that I literally had this custom BMO 3D printed made as a gift for my girlfriend this Christmas. I absolutely love BMO. This is like one of the coolest things I've ever gotten and done in my life. And I just thought it was kind of funny because they have this shot here in this episode with BMO with his face off, and you get to see the inside of BMO. And I just wanted a fun kind of opportunity to show off this really awesome, cool, custom 3D printed BMO, apparently to scale BMO that I had made, because it's just like the freaking coolest thing ever, I have to say. Huntress then comes up with an idea, though. She can connect to all of her seedling selves throughout the different universes, and then take their life force to save Finn. These scenes being a very kind of Goku Dragon Ball Z Spirit Bomb type fashion, as we see this energy restore Finn to his healthy self, as we watch him take a deep breath, everyone crying in happiness. However, something is still wrong, as we see that Finn's eyes are blank. Though his body has been restored, his soul has not. Huntress then goes and finds Cake in the worm world, asking her to get a message to Fionna, as Fionna is the only one who can get into Finn's mind. In Fionna world, we see Fionna and DJ Flame are talking about what they did to Fennel. Fionna realizing that she has been pursuing Flames for the wrong reasons, and they are actually bad for each other, as Fionna pushes him away. Cake then emerges telling Fionna that Finn needs him, that Fionna needs to get into his mind and look for clues. As we watch Fionna enter into Finn's mind as the two of them are connected, we see that Finn's mind is empty, Fionna then finding a hole in the wall as she crawls through it, passing through a bunch of different moments from the Adventure Time series that are kind of important to Finn. For example, like the Pillow universe from the episode Bahoy, which is, in my opinion, one of the most deep and profound episodes in all of Adventure Time, and I did an entire video over it. As well, we see what looks like the Labyrinth of Egress, an episode that was a pretty major kind of pivotal moment for Finn, and what I believe is the spot where the Well of the Lich was, until finally she lands inside Finn's heart, which we see as a comfy little house. Fionna finding a young version of Finn hiding inside of a chest, the chest marked with the date 4510. This being April 5th, 2010, the day the first episode of Adventure Time aired. As we see a number of other references like Finn Sword, another chest with the initials F and J for Finn and Jake, a slice of meatloaf, Finn's favorite food, as well as another chest which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Finn's internal vault. Fionna then talks with Finn, who feels horrible, as he feels like no one loved him like Jake, as we see that Finn is still very much struggling to deal with the death of Jake, his best friend, and also his adopted brother. Fionna telling Finn that Huntress loves him very much, even though she's never said it. Finn calling himself a dumb baby man, this being a funny reference to Sweet Pea being referred to as a baby man. Fionna then explains that Huntress does love him, even though she hasn't said it. Through her actions, we see that she does love Finn, as she has fought like hell to save him. Fionna saying that Huntress has made her realize that Fionna needs to communicate better with her friends, Fionna learning from Huntress's awful example. As Finn then takes Fionna's hand, his soul returning to his body, as we watch him wake up, seeing a crying Huntress wizard's face. As Finn is finally saved, Marcy taking PB's crown and then putting it on Pet Butt's head, as PB needs a break from ruling her kingdom. Back in Fionna world, Cake goes and meets with Imcrom, where she finally shows him her real self, the two of them deciding that they should just be friends. Gary and Marshall then return to their apartment, where we see Fionna is there having made a complete mess, trying to make them some food in an attempt to say sorry, as Gary and Marshall finally forgive Fionna. We then get a fun montage scene of everyone beginning to kind of heal as we hear one of Marshall's new songs in the background, as we see Cake and the Karmic Worm hanging out, Fionna making amends with Fennel, Scarab comforting Prismo, the gang all cleaning up the sweet spot, and Huntress teaching a class about green magic and how it doesn't require exploitation anymore. As we see that Finn is also there living with Huntress Wizard, our boy having gotten even more jacked as we watch him make a new metal arm with Nepter that gives him an axe mod. Outside, we see the Dream Warrior, who is proud of Huntress, and then we see the little Fionna and Cake superfan running into the forest, Dream Warrior going after her as she is another person for him to guide. Back in Fionna World, we see the finished sweet spot, as Gary is giving baking classes, meanwhile Marshall and Simone are jamming together outside. Flame giving out DJ lessons as we see that Fennel and Fionna have become close friends. We then watch Fionna wander through the city as she comes to a fenced-off wall at the corner of Plum and Peach Street. Fionna remembering the words that she heard, to go beyond the end of the peach, as we watch her kick the fence down, revealing a whole sprawling world beyond their little city, as she goes running into this new world with Fennel, Hunter, and Cake. As we see that this world is very much a mirror of the world of Ooh, but without the destruction of the Mushroom War. After the credits, there is actually a secret hidden scene that is very much a teaser for Season 3 of Fionna and Cake, as we see Marshall singing on the street corner, singing a song about hell. We then watch someone drop some strange coins into his guitar case, this being revealed to be Hunson Abadir, Marceline's father, the ruler of the Nightosphere, as he asks Marshall if he has a minute, this setting up the events for the next season of Fionna and Cake, as Season 2 of Fionna and Cake has finally come to an end. Yes, that was Fionna and Cake Season 2 in a nutshell. If you managed to make it to the end of this video, then a round of applause for all of you, because goddamn, that was a long one. To me, I absolutely love Fionna and Cake because I think it's a series that was very much made either for the hardcore Adventure Time fan or the kid, the young adult who grew up with Adventure Time. Not only because we're getting to see like all of our favorite characters intermixed with, you know, the gender-swapped kind of character stories of the Fionna and Cake universe, but also because there's all of these like homages, references, really obscure references to the original Adventure Time series. So if you are someone like me who has binged watched the hell out of Adventure Time like multiple times through, you're gonna catch all of these fun moments and references, these fun moments that are like very obvious callbacks to like moments and scenes from the original Adventure Time series. Obviously, Fionna and Cake is a much more like grown-up Adventure Time story, not only in just the fact that like the rating is much more like grown-up, it is a series on HBO, not a series that is limited by, you know, Cartoon Network. So they don't have to worry about like, you know, they can do a lot more like adult jokes and adult themes in Fionna and Cake. But what I mean by that really is that the storylines and the themes that Fionna and Cake touches on are a much more adult story. It focuses a lot more on, you know, things that people would go through in their like, you know, early 20s, mid 20s, and like early 30s. Themes and struggles that people in their adulthood experience a lot more. If you've watched any of my content over the original Adventure Time series, or you've just watched Adventure Time, you would know that Adventure Time, the original series, is a pretty deep show, you know, just already. But Fionna and Cake really takes a lot of these deep themes that Adventure Time touches on in their characters, and really expands upon that in a much greater way. We really see that here in Season 2 of Fionna and Cake with our two main kind of story themes, one of them being the relationship between Huntress and Finn. The fact that Huntress Wizard is a person who doesn't really show her emotions in a normal way. Like, Huntress is very type A. She's almost kind of like, you know, very emotionally vacant in many ways, and how like you would normally see someone behave in a relationship. While Finn, on the other hand, is this like big golden retriever, like puppy dog type guy. But Finn also has a lot of deep set trauma throughout his life that we see, which I think is really interesting, the way they portray Finn's kind of, you know, Finn's trauma, the struggles that he goes with. If you look at all of the crazy shit that he did, you know, from ages like 11 to 18 and beyond. And really the fact that Finn is still struggling to deal with the loss of his best friend and his adopted brother, Jake. You flip that with the other main kind of theme and story, which is like Fionna coming to terms with who she is as a person and how to really make things right, you know, with her friends. Fionna, being the ever constant fuck up, ever constant screw up, really is trying to deal with the fact that, you know, how does she make things right with all of her friends when it feels like everything she does is just constantly messing it up. These are themes and things that I think that a lot of people like can relate to, especially like in adulthood, like in their 20s and in their 30s. These are things that everyone, I feel like, can relate to in some aspect or other. So I really love how, you know, Fionna and Cake takes a lot of these things, these these struggles that we have when we're growing up, trying to figure out who we are, or trying to, navigate relationships, whether it be friends or like a love life with a partner, and really expand upon that using these characters in this world that, a lot of us have grown up and fallen in love with. That is probably my other favorite thing about the Fionna and Cake series, is really how it pays homage and really like takes all of the beautiful world building, the massive expansive world building of the world of Ooh that Adventure Time created, that Pendleton Ward created, and really uses it to its absolute maximum. Like, there's so many stories and things that they can play on because the world of Ooh, the world building, is so big, it's so robust, it's so deep, that they really have this massive playground of characters and stories, references, things, little story plot lines to pluck on, from the original series to play on, in the time skip here in Fionna and Cake. And I really appreciate that as a hardcore Adventure Time fan, getting to see all of these storylines, play out, these things from, the original Adventure Time series. A lot of these story threads, getting to see their kind of eventual their eventual conclusion in many ways. On top of all of that, Fionna and Cake does a really cool job in expanding the lore on many characters that we fell in love with from the original Adventure Time series, whether that be Huntress Wizard, as, Huntress Wizard really is probably the main character outside of Fionna in this second season, and we really get a lot more detail on Huntress Wizard, her backstory, how her character works. Huntress was a fan favorite from Adventure Time, but obviously we only saw her so many times in Adventure Time, so it really is cool getting to see a series focused, this season really focused more on Huntress, and we get a better grasp of her character and her story, especially like her backstory. Another example of this would be like the Cosmic Owl, as there was some really big reveals about like the nature of the Cosmic Owl, its backstory in Fionna and Cake Season 2, which I definitely didn't see coming, and was really cool how they added this to the lore, the story of Adventure Time. Overall, I'm a massive fan of Fionna and Cake. I will say that it's probably not like for everyone in either the stories, how they craft the stories, and the themes that they're touching on. I do think that Fionna and Cake is very much for the hardcores. It is for the Adventure Time fans who grew up with Adventure Time and are now in their 20s or even early 30s, who are getting to see this series that they fell in love with as a child in a new light, and now as an adult. Once again, guys, with these videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions, so let me know yours in the comment section down below. What did you think of Season 2 of Fionna and Cake? What do you think of Fionna and Cake as a whole? Let me know down in the comment section. If you did enjoy this video, guys, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, and it really does go a long way in putting this video into the algorithm. Again, if you somehow managed to make it to this point in the video at the very end, huge thank you, massive shout out. I know it's a long video, so if you did watch it all the way through, thank you so much. If you did like this video, then watch check out some of my other Adventure Time content, which I will put on screen now. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, adieu.